The moment that broke Mark was not a fight. It wasn't divorce papers. It wasn't even silence. It was laughter. From the kitchen, his wife and son were laughing. Not the polite kind of laughter people use in conversation. Real laughter, the kind that fills a room. And for the first time in years, Mark noticed something strange. The house felt lighter, calmer, almost peaceful. And the painful thought appeared before he could stop it. Maybe they were happier when he wasn't there. Mark had always believed he was a good man. He worked hard, paid the mortgage, fixed broken things around the house. He handled the responsibilities most people avoid. When something broke, Mark repaired it. When something needed to be paid, Mark paid it. In his mind, this was what being a husband and father meant. You carry the weight, you protect your family from problems, you make sure everything keeps moving. But somewhere along the way, Mark became a stranger inside his own home. It didn't happen suddenly. There was no dramatic moment, no big argument, no single decision. It happened slowly, quietly, like a door closing 1 inch at a time, until one day you realize it's already shut. When Mark was younger, he had dreams, real dreams. He once talked about opening a small cafe, a quiet place where people could sit and talk. He imagined music playing softly in the background, books on the shelves, maybe even writing something himself one day. But life has a way of replacing dreams with responsibilities. Bills, work, schedules, unexpected expenses. Slowly, the dreams became maybe someday, then not right now. Then, eventually, they disappeared completely, and routine took their place. Every morning looked the same. Wake up, drive to work, answer emails, solve problems, come home tired, eat dinner, watch television, sleep, repeat. Days turned into years, years turned into decades. At some point, Mark stopped talking, not completely, just about the things that mattered. He stopped sharing thoughts, stopped asking deeper questions, stopped really listening. Dinner conversations became short. How was school? Fine. How was work? Busy. 3 sentences. Then silence. The television filled the rest of the room. Mark didn't notice the distance growing, because distance feels normal when it grows slowly, like temperature changing by 1 degree at a time. You don't feel it until suddenly the entire season is changed. One evening, Mark came home earlier than usual. A meeting had been canceled. The house smelled like dinner. Warm light filled the kitchen. His wife Sarah and their son Jake were sitting at the table, laughing, really laughing. Jake was telling a story about something that happened at school. Sarah leaned forward, smiling, completely engaged. For a moment, Mark stood in the hallway watching them, and something felt strange, almost like he was watching another family. The moment he stepped into the kitchen, the laughter faded. Not dramatically, no one said anything, but the energy shifted, like someone quietly lowered the volume of the room. They continued eating, talking, but the rhythm had changed. Mark tried to join the conversation. He asked Jake about the story. Jake answered politely, but quickly returned to talking to his mother. Sarah listened, asked questions, laughed again. Mark realized something uncomfortable. They had built a world together, a rhythm, inside jokes, shared moments, a life that continued moving, even when he wasn't part of it. And the truth slowly formed in his mind. They weren't excluding him. They had simply learned how to function without him. That night, something else came back to Mark, a memory he hadn't thought about in years. Jake was 8 years old. It was a Saturday morning. Jake had asked him to come watch a soccer game. "Will you be there?" Jake asked. Mark remembered answering without looking up from his laptop. Of course. But work emails kept coming, then a phone call, then another problem. By the time Mark finished, the game was already over. Jake never mentioned it again. At the time, Mark believed it was a small moment. Now he wondered how many small moments had slowly built the distance between them. Later that night, Mark walked past the living room. Sarah and Jake were watching a movie together. Jake leaned slightly toward his mother. They were laughing again. Soft, natural, comfortable. Mark stood in the hallway watching quietly, and suddenly, something clicked. When he entered a room, people became careful, measured. But when he wasn't there, everything felt easy, relaxed, free. And the thought he had been avoiding finally became clear. Maybe the problem wasn't work, or stress, or time. Maybe the problem was him. That night, Mark couldn't sleep. He sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the dark window. For 20 years, he believed he had done everything right. He worked hard, provided, built a stable life. But sitting there in the silence, he finally understood something painful. Providing money is not the same as providing presence. He had been physically inside the house, but emotionally somewhere else, lost in stress, lost in routine, lost in quiet frustration. And slowly, his family had learned how to live without him, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. The next morning, Mark woke up earlier than usual. The house was silent. Sunlight slowly filled the kitchen. He made coffee. Then, something he hadn't done in years. He waited. Eventually, Jake walked in, still half asleep. Mark looked at him, really looked, not as part of routine, but as his son. "Hey," Mark said. Jake nodded. "Morning." There was a small, awkward silence. Then Mark said something simple. "Do you want to grab breakfast together before school?" Jake looked surprised. For a moment, he didn't answer. Mark felt a familiar fear in his chest. Maybe it was too late. Maybe the distance had grown too big. Then Jake said quietly, "Yeah, that would be nice." They drove to a small diner a few blocks away. The conversation was awkward at first, short sentences, long pauses. But slowly, something began to return. Not the past, but something new. When they finished eating, Jake stood up. Then he said something that stayed with Mark long after. "You know, when I was little, I used to wait for you a lot." Mark felt the words land deep. "I know," he said quietly. Jake shrugged slowly. "I stopped waiting after a while." Mark nodded slowly. "I know that too." Jake looked at him for a moment. Then he said something unexpected. "But I guess it's okay to start again." And for the first time in many years, Mark felt something he hadn't felt inside his own home. Not guilt, not distance, but hope. Because sometimes the most painful realization in life is understanding you were absent. But the most important moment is deciding not to be absent anymore.